Well, good morning, everybody. We are off and on the road again with Fred and Ethel. Hope you'll join us on our way and camping at Pickensville. Pickensville Corps of Engineers Campground in Pickensville, Alabama. See you there. Well, hello everybody. We made it to Pickensville. Pickensville Campground, U.S. Army Corps of Engineers site here in Pickensville, Alabama. We're going to take a little walk around of all the campsites. There's over 170 campsites, so this might be a little bit longer campground review video than you're used to. As a help, if you have a particular campsite in mind, I'll be putting the campsite numbers at the bottom of each snippet, so you should be able to scroll forward and easily find the particular campsite that you're interested in. So we're going to take a walk around, have a look. 170 plus campsites, all with water and electric, 50, 30, 20 amp electric, and some with full sewer hookups. We got some waterfront sites, some riverfront sites, and some interior sites as well. Pull-throughs, back-ends, just about everything you could look for in a campground here in Alabama. We are here the 4th week in July, so you'll get to see what it's like during the weekend. This is a Sunday afternoon, so a lot of folks have pulled out. Not too many have pulled back in yet, so stay tuned. And we'll start out just inside the main attended gate. And you'll see here just a couple of their camp host and contractor / host sites as well as we make our way down into the campground. Just past the camp hosts, you'll find a 2-lane dump station facilities, and there is a large dumpster here to drop your garbage. The campground is divided up into 3 main sections. First 1 through 70, and then 70 through about 170, and then the last section down by the boat ramp. So we're going to make our way into this first section. This first loop is further divided into 2 smaller loops, the Camellia Circle and the Sweet Gum Loop. We're going to make our way down Camellia Circle and then finish up on Sweet Gum here on this first section. And we come up on site number 1, and inside the loop site, fully shaded, and swinging around to the outside, number 2, also full shade, paved level site. Number 3 here on the inside. Site 4 here on the outside of the loop. Number 5 on the inside. And 6 here on the outside. Number 7 here on the inside, a longer back end site. No near neighbors behind you, but out the front you are still close to number 5. And number 8 here on the outside of the loop. And no neighbors out in front of you at all. And here we have number 9, a good ways around the bend here on the outside of the loop. It does have a nice little swamp there behind you. You can't really see it, but it is all water and swampy area, so it might be a little more mosquitoes for you here on number 9. Number 10 here on the inside of the loop is a little bit shorter site. No real close neighbors out in front. Coming up on number 11 here on the outside, facing out into the swampy area. Number 12 here on the inside of the loop. A little bit more open and then sunny. 13, another outside the loop site, backing up to the swamp. 14 here on the inside, relatively short site. Surrounded by trees, but as you can see, not a whole lot of shade cover for them. 15, pretty secluded site here. No one that you're able to see through your campsite area. 16 here on the inside of the loop, also good shady site. And you can see the group shelter, group picnic area in the distance behind you there here at 16. 17 is tucked away here on the outside. Full shade cover and lots of tree cover between you and the nearest sites in either direction. 18 on the inside of the loop. No one really behind you. Out in front you do face into 16, but not too bad. As we make our way on up and around the curve here on this loop, we come to sites 19 and 20. While they are separate sites, as you can see here, on with their own separate drive, they are fairly close and not much cover between the two. So it could easily be a buddy or family camping situation, although they are equally reservable. 19 and 20. Making our way on around to 21. Kind of plenty of room between you and the next nearest neighbors here. And 22 on the outside of the loop as well. Plenty of space here. Lots of shade. 23 is another back inside secluded area. Not near anybody, near any neighbors, but you do have kind of the swamp coming up on you behind you. And just past 23, you will find a bathhouse, shower house, restroom facility supporting this small loop. These bathhouses do have washer and dryer units in them. Most of them do, but they are only opened up for the camp host and volunteer use. So no guest use. Site 24, handicap accessible site here as it is right near the bathhouse on the inside of the loop. Swinging back to the outside, site number 25. Open up behind you and access to a walking bridge out into the swamp. 26, another long back end site into the woods there. A little bit of the swamp right behind you. And 27 here, right by the 26 entrance as well. And still a long back end site, but as you can see, gets a lot of the sun. Doesn't have any neighbors though out front of your camp area. 28, another long back end site. Is pretty wide open as far as shade goes back in there. You get a little shade of your camp area, but your unit, your rig will get some sun. 29 here, back end site, good shady site. Not too close to your neighbors. Coming up on 30 here on the inside of the loop, long back end site. And no real nearby neighbors. You do face a small parking area. 31 is a back end site here, and you will have a few neighbors, as you can see there, facing out from your campsite to neighbors from another loop, as well as the next near site here. 32, long back end paved site, facing out into the woods. 33, as we make our way on around on the outside of the loop, you will be relatively close to your neighbors from the other loop, backing up to you there. Site 34, back in, and you have a trail behind you that will take you to the group picnic area. 35 here on the outside of the loop, kind of backs in, and you see you're kind of facing right into the other loop's campsite that you back to, and you see their bathhouse there in the background. 36, a good full shade site here. Your camp area does kind of face out to the road, as do several on this section of the loop. Coming around to 37, another back end full shade site. Plenty of access to the bathhouse. And I'll point out to you, when you check on recreation.gov, just check the services, because we're near the bathhouse here, and looks like 37 and 35 both have sewer connections as well. And I presume the other ones around on this other loop, as they're close to the bathhouse, will have them as well. We'll try and point them out to you when we can, but make sure you check those services available on recreation.gov. 38 on the outside of the loop, backing into the woods, and camp area kind of out facing the road. And now we're going to make our way down the Sweet Gum Loop, 39 through 70. And the first site here in Sweet Gum, site 39 on the inside of the loop. And swinging around to site 40 here on the outside of the loop. And the bathhouse for this loop just past and across from site 40. On the outside of this loop, site 41, it is a full hookup site. It does kind of back up to the other loop sites as well, so you do have some close neighbors and have a little more sun in this site. Number 42, handicap accessible, double wide site here, as is close to the bathhouse. 43, the back end site right here. And as we round the curve, 44 is a site kind of off by itself. Lots of shade. Can see the next loop sites in the distance behind you. Site 45 on the inside of the loop. It is a little uphill slope to get to your flat concrete pad up there though. Swinging around to 46 on the outside. Nice shady, well secluded site. 47 here on the inside. Also shady, well spaced site. Back to the outside, number 48. Very secluded, no nearby neighbors in either direction, except across the road at 47. And 49 here on the outside of the loop. Kind of have the swamp behind you. But I will say you also have a walking path. Takes you up to the bathhouse. And that path takes you out to a bird watching overlook as well, overlooking the swamp. Site 50, another swamp overlooking site. You can see that bird watching overlook out there behind you. 51, a bit of an uphill slope to get you up to your fairly level campsite on the inside. 52 here. Nice view of the water, the swamp behind you. 53 here on the outside, also a swamp view site. Someone left a nice little stack of firewood for you there as well as a gift. 54 is on the inside, a long back end site with the trail over to the bathhouse as well behind you. 55 backing into the swamp area as an overlook. 56 on the inside, nice shady site. 57 here on the outside as well, continuing the theme of the swamp sites, swamp overlook sites. You can see a little other overlook there directly behind you. We'll say this one does tend to collect a little water. It was about 2 days ago. Nice strong shower came through and the water's still standing at your entrance as well, so be aware of that. Swinging back to the inside loop, number 58, great shaded site. No nearby neighbors. Back around to the outside, 59. Backing up there to the swamp area, as well as site number 60, fairly close to you. Nice shady overlook to the swamp. 61, nice level shady site. And you back up to another boardwalk out overlooking the swamp. 62 is a relatively short site, although you can back all the way to the tire stop. There's nothing behind you. 63 is a little bit longer. Backing up into the shade, out overlooking the woods. 64 also on the outside of the loop. Not too terribly long a site. A little bit of extra shade there, but not too bad. Coming back around to the inside, number 65. We'll say your camp area has no nearby neighbors, although the camp pad area is behind your camper pad. Coming back to the outside, number 66, facing out into the woods. 67 also on the outside, backing into the woods. 68's on the inside, and it's another one of those with your camping area behind your camper pad. Number 69 here on the outside of the loop. And site number 70 here on the inside of the loop. And now we're going to make our way down to the more popular loop for sites 71 through 171. And then we'll come back and pick up the last 5 sites that are down by the boat ramp. As we make our way down into this loop, you will find this loop has a few more amenities for the young and young at heart, as evidenced by the basketball court and the volleyball court here. And you also come to another group picnic pavilion. And on this loop, you will find a number of pull-through sites. And we come to the first of those here, site number 71. Pull-through, it is kind of wide open in the midday, mid-afternoon sun. It is a full hookup site. Your campsite does hold a little bit of water behind you there, as you see the next nearest campground from the opposite loop as well. Camp 71. Number 72, also on the right as you enter this loop. Another full hookup site, but you can see it does have a lot more shade than the first one. And a long pull-through site and no nearby neighbors behind you. And further on down this loop, you'll see it's further divided between Cypress Lane, Waterfront Drive, and Riverside Loop. So by their names, you'll see 2 of those are along the water and 1 is out in the woods. And we come up to 73, another inside the loop site that has water and electric. It is very much out in the open, so it'll be in full sun much of the afternoon here, but very long level site. 74, another full hookup site, pull through. Again, you're back facing out to the road and pretty much open to the sun in the afternoon, but here we are early evening, very nice site. And just past 74 is another of the standard bathhouse units here. As we continue down this road that has sites on the opposite side overlooking the river. We'll come back to these sites shortly. And we're going to continue down Cypress Lane here to the right. And Cypress Lane follows along, backs up several sites back up to this swamp, and you have bird overlooks kind of the opposite side as we saw in the loop for 1 through 70. And that brings us to the first site here, number 75. Long pull through site here. Here on the corner, no nearby neighbors. You do see the bathhouse in the distance. Site number 75. And continuing on the inside of this loop, site number 76, out into the woods there. And 77, a very long back end site, out in the woods. No nearby neighbors on your campsite. And 78, also a very long back end site. Lots of shade and plenty of space there as well. 79, a little bit shorter, but still nice size campsite. Lots of space out there in the woods from your campground, your campsite. 80 here, another good back end site. And we make our way down to the end of this loop. It's a little circle drive. We have several sites here on this circle, with the first being 81, backing out into the woods. 82, another long back end site. No neighbors nearby. 83, a little different site here. 83 and 84, it's kind of a double site. You have a common driveway with a Y to each of the campsites. 83 on the right, 84 here on the left. And interesting thing about these campsites, they back right up and kind of face into almost that pull through over on the other side there. So just be aware of that. And you do have a little pool of water here to deal with between these two campsites. Make your own way around the circle here. 85, still on the circle. Nice spaced site here. You're kind of by yourself here out of the woods. And we're gonna make our way back up out the lane of this little cul-de-sac. On the opposite side of the road is what we came in. And we'll come to site number 86 here. Nice wooded site. 87 as well. Great shady site here in the woods, if that's what you choose. 88's a little bit more open. Not quite as many shade trees over you as you back into the woods. 89 here on the wood side. Lots of shade for this one. Come up on 90 here. You start to face a little bit into the swamp. 91, this long back end site, very long back end site. You have one of the walkways out over the swamp there right outside your campsite. And 92 similarly has the path right beside it, the walkway that goes out to the swamp. But 92, good back end site nestled here in the woods. 93 has a little J-flight here, sitting here overlooking the swamp. 94, another really long back end site. Takes you back to this overlooking the swamp as well. And the last one on this loop, 95, on this cul-de-sac lane. Another long back end side, a little more open out near the front, and you have some more bird watching piers just at your doorstep here at 95. As we make our way back down the lane here along the river, come to site 96 on the inside. Back end site here on the corner of these two roads. No real nearby neighbors. And we'll make our way to 97 here, another back end site there, nestled into the woods. Kind of to your next neighbor, 98. Relatively short compared to some of the other sites here. Kind of wide open as well to the afternoon sun. Making our way on down to 99. Backing in, still facing out into the swamp. You'll see some of the boardwalk area out there. And site 100, backing up to the swamp area. Coming up on 101, another relatively short back end site with your camp area behind your trailer pad. And your camp area is kind of on a peninsula surrounded by the swamp as well. You want to be in the swamp? Site 101 is a site for you. Making our way around the little circle here at the end of this drive. 102, facing out into the swamp as well. Right next to it, we find 103 and 104. Another one of these Y driveways that doubles up these sites. 104 being one that faces out into the water, and 103 being a long driveway backing into a wooded site. So another one that could kind of double up as a buddy site. 103 and 104. And making our way around the circle brings us to first of the riverfront sites we're really going to look at here. 105 and kind of wide open, not a lot of shade here, but you do have a great view of the river, and you are at the end of a section of these this large set of stones keeping the river back. So getting out to the river is not as easy as we go down this lane, but this one does still have pretty good access to the river as we kind of walk out, and I'll show you this long white wall of stones. It does extend a ways down there before it stops, and campsites have just more natural access to the river. And we're here at 106. Another nice looking site here, overlooking the water. The sites here along this stretch are kind of close together, as you can see, but they do have a nice water view. As we move on to 107. And right next to it, you got 108 alongside. Here, not as many shade trees around it, so a little more out in the open, but along back inside. 109 is definitely lacking of shade, so you'll be out in the full sun all the time here. 110 along back in sight. A few more shade trees around, but kind of open back at your camp pad. 111, an extra long driveway. Some tall pines around you, other hardwoods. And got you overlooking the water there. No near neighbors. 112, also well positioned here with the waterway in the background. And here we are at 113. Little shorter site here, not too long of a driveway, not too far off the road. You see the waterway, and the riprap continues down behind this one. A lot of undergrowth to get to the water from this site. And 114, just past the entrance to 113. We have 114 as a pull through. And it is nestled amongst the trees here, plenty of shade in the morning. As we are now about 8 o'clock in the morning here, 9 o'clock, between 8 and 9. And this is a full hookup site, as you can see. And good views, and a little trail out to the riprap bank on the waterway. And that one is also right across from the bathhouse. Here we have 115, another pull through, full hookup site. It is getting to be quite a distance out to the river, but still considered a waterfront site with no real nearby neighbors at all. Then we come to 116, another full hookup site, and the camp host is set up here. As I mentioned, you're still a good ways away from the water at this site. But no nearby neighbors. And now we're going to make our way down the Riverside Loop, 117 through 170. Site 117, the first of the Riverside Loop sites. And we're going to take a quick back step and confirm this is just, this is a water, electric, and sewer. Full hookup site. And the undergrowth out to the water has been cleared along here, so you have a nice, easy access to the river, and they'll find that most of the way down through here. On the inside here in the corner is site 118, a relatively short back end site, and a little bit of water standing off to the backside there if it rains. 119, a well-shaded site here in the morning, getting closer to the river. And 119 is a full hookup site as well, as was 118. Coming up on 120, another full hookup site. Backing up, nicely situated with a clear view out to the water. 121, another full hookup site. Easy access to the water, and the riprap continues here, but it pretty much ends at 121, and from here on out, less of a riprap bank to get to the water. Site 122, a relatively shorter back end site, and back to normal water and electric hookups only here. And 123 though is a full hookup site, and getting real close to the water here. Wonderful views at your campsite. 124, little interesting drive. You kind of have a speed bump where the looks like tree roots have buckled the driveway, so be aware of that if you're coming in here with a longer rig. But here right on the water. 125 right here on the corner, kind of looking out to the corner as well. This is a full hookup site, and it is right next to the bathhouse. 126, well spaced back end site, water and electric on. And just outside of 126, you can see here a nice bird watching platform, fishing platform, which will have the view from 126. Backing in here at 127 will be fine. As you back up into the shade, easy access to the water. 128 is handicapped accessible, as it is near to the bathhouse, and water and electric only. You'll see there in the background, there's the playground for the kiddos, and that's the only play structure here at this large campsite. 129, positioned here on the outside, overlooking the water. A little closer space to your next door neighbors. It's out 130 here on the inside, also with a little closer access to the playground. 131, a nice shady back end site. Plenty long for just about any rig. Alternating to the inside, 132, backing out into the woods. 133, relatively short side here. Some of the longer rigs, you might not have room to park your tow vehicles. 134 coming up here on the inside, out into the woods, with your camp area relatively close to the road here. 135, easy access to the water, a little close to your neighbors there, as you can see. 136, you're close to your back door neighbors. You'll be looking out over their camp area, but out front, lots of wide open space. Easy down to the water. Rounding the corner here, 137. Good long back end spot. And on the outside of the corner, we have 138. Lots of space out front as you look onto the river. And this is the trail out to a bird watching area out on the point. You can barely see it there in the background. Coming to 139 here on the curve. A little different site in that it does have this large electrical structure and a night light here, so be aware of that. And the transformer, you'll hear it buzzing most of the time, so be aware of that here at 139. 140 and 141, another one of these Y sites. Two distinct sites, but it could work easily for a buddy site, and they have lots of space out behind them. They are relatively close spaced to each other. And in fact, there was a group camping here when we arrived earlier this week. And you see easy access to the water, and there is a little inlet here to the left where you make your way down to the boat ramp. So you are starting to back up to an area that's not as heavily trafficked from the pleasure and fishing boats. Here on the inside, we come to 142. Backing out into the woods. Well spaced from your neighbors as well. Coming back around to the outside, facing the water. This water inlet waterway. Lots of space out behind you, and some good spacing to your next neighbors. Making our way on to 144. This is our site for the week. Fred and Ethel fit nicely into this nice and shady, full shade all day long campsite. Easy access, good fishing spot down by the water here at 144. Swinging to the outside, 146 here on the curve. Backing out into the woods. You have a little extra parking area there for your boat trailer or whatever. Coming to 146 and 147. A couple of sites here that share a driveway. And there was a group here. One of the group is still left here, but these would be good group camping sites as well. Both here, easy access to the water, full shade. Nice large camp pad areas as well. We'll give you a little closer view of 147 as we work our way around. Coming to 148. You do have a handicap accessible site here, although I'm not sure why it's listed as handicap accessible, as there's no nearby facilities. But it does have a little bit of a water view, and the rest is out into the woods here at 148. 149, we start making our way back out of the loop, and you'll kind of see through the trees there. These will back up to a string of sites that are down by the boat ramp. So here into the woods, good shade in the morning, 149. On the inside, good back end site here for 150. 151, you'll find yourself lots of shade here, as well as on 152. Backing into the woods on the outside. Around to the inside, 153. Go back into the woods. Good tree cover here. 54. You're on the outside of the loop. A little bit close to the next camper pad. Coming around to the inside, 155. Nice side here. You'll see it is a little bit elevated there. These dark areas where water was standing when we arrived here a couple of days ago from the rains. Do back out into the woods. 156, fairly short side here. Your camp pad, your camping area a little bit closer to the road. Not too far off the road here. 157 and inside side here. It is kind of, it is shaded in the morning, but once you get to the top of the day, the canopy relieves and you'll get lots of sun on this site. 158, another a little bit shorter site, but covered by good canopy of shade. And just past 158, coming to 159 here. Another relatively short site, and a little bit closer to the road, and kind of between 158 and 159 is this walking path over to the boat ramp parking area and the other string of campsites over there. And this pathway does lead to this parking area and the play structure there to the left and the bathhouse further down to the right. On the inside here, we come to 160. Another fairly short site with your camp area that'll be kind of out in the sun during the afternoon. Morning sun, it's well shaded. Afternoon, it will be open. It is close here to the road. 161 backs you up into the trees, and no neighbors behind you, and well spaced to the next sites. 162 that is. On the outside, another back end site, well shaded in the morning, might be a little sunny in the afternoon. Coming back around to the inside here on 163 as we round the curve. Backs into a good grove of trees, tall pines surrounded you, and the bathhouse there in the background. You are a little close to the next site too. 164, an outside site here. Kind of near a grove of tall pine trees. So you're gonna get a lot of sun in the afternoon. You get some morning shade, but here's the other issue here. Rained at least a couple of days, 2 days ago, and the water is still standing. So you're gonna have a little water to deal with near the front of your site. 165 is nestled here amongst the trees, lots of shade. Your camp pad is a little close to the next site there to your left. 166 and 167 here. Another shared driveway. Almost a double site, but you can reserve them individually. But all pretty well spaced out here in the woods. And a little parking area here. Boat parking area, trailer parking area right beside that double site. 168. Here, backed up into the woods. We have plenty of shade most of the day here on this site. Coming up on 169 here on the corner. You're back in and you're close to the bathhouse, but otherwise not a bad site here. And it is a full hookup site. 170, kind of off by itself here on the curve on your way out. Backing out into the woods. And as we make our way back up out of this loop, you come to site number 171. Numerically, it is kind of positioned out all by itself here. It does have full hookups. It is a little swampy, a little water standing here after a few days ago the rain, but not a bad site looking out into the woods as well. 171. Now we're going to make our way down to the final section, the boat ramp and campsites 172 through 176. As we make our way down this last group of sites, for 172, back end site here along the roadway. And I will say this string of sites is right by the very large boat ramp parking area. And coming to 173. Another wide back end site here. Coming to 174. A long back end site into the woods. 175. Another back end site. Very long. Into the wooded area. Plenty of shade. And brings us to the last campsite. 176. Very long back end site here. No neighbors real close to you on the front. And there is a little path over here to the next loop. But your next stop is the boat ramp. And here's the boat ramp area here on this little inlet. We'll walk out here to the dock area just to give you a better view of the waterway. Some nicely positioned houses here on the other side of the waterway there, overlooking the water. And as we look out, you'll see this little inlet waterway. It is a no-wake zone, so while you will see some boaters come up and down through here occasionally, they're supposed to be at idle, which mostly happens. And you'll see a few of the campers along this inlet that bring their boats, and there's a place to dock those or a place to tie up on the beach as well. Swing around, give you a view up this inlet. And just a little closer view of the waterway from our campsite. This here is along the bank. And we'll swing around slowly. Let you see we're just right here by the water.
Being lazy bums. Being the camper cat.
Are you a camper cat?
No, I want to be fed. I want to be left alone.
Yeah, you do. Poor little cat.
Yeah,
poor little
poor
cat.
Thing. So mistreated.
Poor zoomy cat.
But we're the camper cat.
Well, that wraps up things here at Pickensville Campground, U.S. Army Corps of Engineers campsite. Hope you've enjoyed this extended tour of the 176 sites, as well as some other amenities here at the campground. Stay tuned for our next visit to the next campground. We'll be off there soon. Happy camping.